Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kim Barrett Show. I am your host, Kim Barrett, and on today's episode, we have Mr. Harrison Fischer. Now, Harrison is coming on to talk all things conscious leadership, but before we dive into that, of course, I got to have a conversation with him about corn chips because they have some healthy corn chips, and it really spiked my interest. So I was like, okay, I got to dive into this. I got to find out a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes here. So if you're someone who's been interested in conscious leadership or corn chips, if you're a corn chip fiend, you're going to love this episode. And of course, if we can ever help you with your marketing, you can find out more about how we can do that over at mogulcall.com. But until then, let's jump into the show and chat to Mr. Harrison Fischer. Harrison, my man, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you making the time.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have a great conversation with you.
Yeah, me too, man. My pleasure. And I always like to start the podcast off with one question, which is if we met at a party and we're just chatting away and I said to you, Harrison, what is it that you actually do? What's your go-to answer?
See, I saw this in the Eli Wild episode and I wrote down like a new really good answer to that question and then I completely forgot about it. So this is a plug for the Eli Wild episode. He really gives a great tip on how to answer that question that I don't remember, but I will. It had something to do with creating a problem and then offering the solution, something like that. In all like honesty, without any like tricks or games, or it's not tricks, but any just being completely 100% real, I'm building a community of change makers, and we're doing it through a food company, a company that cares an incredibly amount about our customers, our employees, our partners, our advisors, our investors, everyone. And we're trying to help people take control of their health and live a more vibrant life, but also inspire them to bring consciousness into their own life, whether it's as a boss or a leader, whether it's as, a wife or a husband, whether it's a parent or a friend or a stranger. Consciousness is something that is going to be essential for the future of humanity. I know we talked about like coyly bringing that up, but it just it showed up. What I do is I inspire people to be more conscious leaders. That's what I do.
Well, I want to dive into that, but I would love to know what your definition is, because a lot of people use this phraseology or terminology, whatever you want to say, but what is like, if you were to break that down, the two words, conscious and then leadership as well, like what is that actually like? What's your definition of them?
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Let me pull up the dictionary and get that answer for you. I think, all terms are complicated to define. That just kind of is humanity. They're used in so many different situations. For me, conscious leadership is leading through a lens of your values. And so it could be different from person to person, but at the end of the day, it really means putting your customer, your employees, your investors, your advisors, your partners first. Simon Sinek wrote a great book. I didn't read it, but I'm sure it's a great book because everything he does is great. It's called Leaders Eat Last. And, some people promote that you should pay yourself first. Some people promote that you should eat last. And in my mind, when you're really out there to just add value to the world, that's when you become a conscious leader. And so there's a company called Y Combinator, which is really famous. They're like the #1 startup accelerator program in the US, at least. They have like 4,000 companies, and I don't know their alumni, but I know it's like so many different billion-dollar companies that came out of it. And, they released an article, I don't know when, I read it like a week ago. And it talks about how in the beginning, startups should be so focused on their customer that they're indistinguishable from charities. And in my mind, that really resonated with me. In my mind, a business isn't a charity, right? Businesses are supposed to make money, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with making money. In fact, if you don't make money, it's very hard to make a difference in the world. With charities there are many different charities and they do really, really great work. But if they were effective, they would put themselves out of business, and they don't, because they're effective, but they're not really effective enough. And businesses are what really need to happen to make change in the world. And the businesses that change the world are the ones who are founded by conscious leaders. So if you're out there, if you're someone who wants to change the world, or you want to just be proud of yourself, a big thing in conscious leadership, and, throughout this talk, I'm probably going to say those two words way more than anyone wants me to hear them say it, but it's really hard to have synonyms for the concept. Maybe we'll just say CL. A big part of that is just doing what you truly believe in is right. And, I've gone through a ton of personal development, like just an absolutely way too much for any human being. And, a really big thing about personal development is being authentic and being with integrity of yourself. And when you're out of integrity, it starts showing up in other aspects of your life. You get into a fight with your significant other, and then you go into work the next day and you can't get work done, or you're fired by a client because you act out or something. Integrity is a really big part of our life. And a lot of us forget to have that integrity in business. And, some people are successful leading without integrity. I don't understand how that's possible, but it's been proven. But I can't imagine them going to their home life and just being completely fulfilled. And you'll hear this from all of these amazing entrepreneurs when they're in their 70s and 80s. Steve Jobs' last words are, really famous. He's like, the fame and the money doesn't really mean anything. All that means anything was, the impact that I had, or the influence that I had in the world. All that means is the love and the relationships that I have. And when you lead a business through the lens of your values, you really can be fulfilled throughout your entire life. So that's what conscious leadership means to me. And if you want any clarity on what I just said, because I threw out a lot of terms and I have a lot more to throw out, I'd be happy to.
I want to dive into that, just some of the thing that you said at the end, which is obviously through the lens of your values. So if someone is a leader or in a leadership position at the moment, but they're not feeling that maybe they are doing that, they're not really leading through their values, or maybe they haven't even identified them and they've fallen into a leadership position, or they've started a company and they've just been going. And look, they're probably still looking after their customers. They still have that as a high priority. But then how do they uncover and identify, number one, what their values are, so that they can then put in place the process to lead through those values?
Trying to stump me early in this podcast, huh? So I just wanted to touch on one thing you said, that, there are leaders out there that are doing right by their customer. I challenge people to really explore that belief. It may be hard to face the music, and it may be great to say you're doing right by your customer, but are you? If you're not going, and I'll give an example that'll clear it all up really soon, but if you're not going all the way for your customer, and you're just telling yourself you're doing right by your customer, even though deep down you're not, and you could push that down as much as you want, it's going to affect you in other aspects of your life. And I'm not cursing you or wishing that on you. It's just, something that I've come to realize. And so for us at, my company, it's called Koohlah, and we make radically healthy versions of popular junk foods. And, there's a whole industry of healthy snacks that are really considered better for you or lesser evil. And in reality, they're not really good for you. They're just not as bad for you as other things. And so, when we were developing this product, I was talking to a firm of food scientists. These are people who understand nutrition and ingredients and processes and, how everything works together, in production and manufacturing. And they asked me this question, and they said, I can't remember, they were asking me about two different ingredients. And, one was an ingredient that, on paper looked really good and would, be under the consideration of clean label, but I didn't think that it was healthy. And then there was this other ingredient that nobody's ever heard of. And, it might not be the easiest to pronounce ingredient, but it was good for my customer. And I 100% took the second one. I told the guy or the girl, whoever I was talking to at the time, should probably remember, but I was like, I couldn't care less what it says on my label. What the label isn't important to me. What's important to me is how the ingredients function in my customer's body. And once we get ingredients that are digestible and vital to our consumer, then we could talk about making the label look better. But I will never sacrifice health for optics. And it's very uncommon in the food industry. People love natural flavors, but there's nothing natural about natural flavors. Like, yes, it comes from food, but it's totally mimicking food that is not going into your body. And you're basically tricking your body. Your body thinks it's getting something healthy. You're feeding it something unhealthy. So when your body is like, oh, I need some more healthy food, it craves an unhealthy food. And so it's very
of your products, just so that when we're listening to this, because I'm like, what's some of the healthy products that, like, what are you selling? Like, because then, so I can, so when I'm listening to this, it gives me some more context. Like, what are we talking? Like, what's some of the products you guys have?
Yeah. Okay. So product that we're launching with, which we should be launched by the time this podcast comes out, is a flavored tortilla chip. So think like, a triangle corn chip that tastes like nacho cheese, or, Cool Ranch, or, spicy sweet chili. That's the product we're talking about. And it's hard to make a product that tastes great without natural flavors or artificial flavors or some sort of chemical flavoring. And it's just easy. Like, we'll throw a natural flavor in there. It'll taste like nacho cheese. It says natural on the package. That's all my customer cares about. If it's natural, that's what I'm going to do. And we're over here like, we're going to get the customer not what they want, what they need. At the end of the day, we have to make something a customer wants. We have to make something that's going to be delicious and taste like, what they're used to. Otherwise, they won't buy it, and that's okay. But on the other hand, I have to make sure that this is what the customer needs. I can't, in my own right, feed my customer something that I wouldn't 300% believe in. And it's more than just me. We have a whole collective of health experts and food hackers that come together to discuss what goes into the product and what is actually good for a customer, what's not good for a customer, what's an extract. I had a conversation for an hour today about like what is considered an extract and what is not. And like, this isn't really that relevant to the conversation, but it's just something that's really interesting, at least to me. If you dehydrate something, that's considered an extract because you extract water from it, but it still retains the vitamins and the minerals and the secondary plant compounds. When you remove protein from something, it's called like a protein isolate. That's an extract where you're not keeping the secondary plant compounds. And that's not healthy because the secondary plant compounds are what help us digest the protein. And so it's like, yeah, pea protein isolate, that's a great vegan source of protein on the label. In reality, it's much better to eat the whole pea. You're getting the vitamins, you're getting the minerals, you're getting the fiber, and you're getting the secondary plant compounds that help us digest the vitamins, the minerals, and the fiber. And so a conscious leader wouldn't put pea protein isolate in their product, even though it looks so good on the label and it's all the rage right now. Every product needs to have pea protein isolate because it's the healthiest thing. And in reality, it's not that great for us. And so as a conscious leader, I look at pea protein isolate and I'm like, oh, my customer would love that. But it's not what the customer needs. And so I can't put that in my product.
Can I ask you a question? And it might be kind of a little bit of devil's advocate here, but with your product, how do you package it for the client?
How do we package it for the client? Yeah, that's a great question. It's a hot topic within our company and our advisors. And right now we're talking to TerraCycle to do a national recycling program for our packages, which rewards our customers for mailing our bags to a TerraCycle facility. We're talking to a packaging company right now. They only can offer a 30% PCR, a post-consumer recyclable bag, which, it's not great. They're hoping that they could get it to 70 or 80%, but it's just not there yet. The way we sell our snacks is, it's really important for us to look, feel, and taste like, what they're used to. So we sell our snacks, we sell single serves, but we sell single serves in a variety pack. And so traditionally, when you do a single serve in a variety pack, you have your plastic bags, and then you put those plastic bags in another plastic bag. And what we're doing is we have plastic bags. We're going to set up a national recycling program for those plastic bags. And then we're going to put it in a recycled cardboard box. So we're at least taking away one bag of plastic and we're making the other bags recyclable.
I was curious because I was like, oh, if you're putting them in plastic bags, is it conscious leadership then if you're contributing to the plastic that goes into the world? You know, that was going to be, that was the question that was popping into my head. But I like the fact that you've done as much as possible to be able to reduce that.
In addition to the bags, right? Another thing we're doing, the ingredients in our food are all very good for the environment. They put nitrogen in the soil and they remove carbon from the air. They're all legume plants, which is much better and more efficient than corn or wheat or almonds or, you know, other things that people make into chips. They're very efficient for the environment. Another thing we're doing is our farms that we buy from and our co-manufacturer and our packaging facility and our fulfillment center are all in North California. And so, you know, when you look at the environmental impact of food products, freight is really big. You know, shipping, you know, ingredients from, you know, a country to another country or a state to another state, that has a really big environmental impact. And since we have it all in this one small region of California, we're really curbing our environmental impact in that way as well.
Nice. I love that. And just purely because this pops in my head out of curiosity, how do you make nacho cheese flavor naturally? Like what's without giving me with the whole thing, because I'm just thinking, I'm like, how is that even going to be done naturally? Like, especially onto a chip. What's one thing that gives a little bit of flavor towards the nacho cheese flavor that is a natural thing? Just because pure curiosity, like without giving me your recipe, curious as to like, what's one thing that kind of contributes to that flavor?
We think outside the box. I'm not going to go into the specific ingredients that we use. You'll find out when, you know, you see our label and our packaging, and, you know, there are things on our label that you might not have ever heard of. Actually, probably a lot of our label you might not ever heard of, but it's all plant-based. It's all whole foods. It's all real foods. We just take a bunch of plants, chop them up, and we, you know, put them in our machine, and out comes a delicious tortilla chip. You know, one thing I would like to add to that is, you know, we're taking risks that nobody's ever done before. But on the other hand, you know, whether or not it tastes exactly like nacho cheese is not as important as it sounds. If we could deliver a chip that is delicious, and which we have, you know, we are delivering a chip which is delicious and one that you're not going to want to put down, one that you're going to keep snacking. That's a whole nother story with packaging size, because, you know, we're a radically healthy brand, and with packaging, if you give someone a 5-ounce bag of packaging, they're, you know, traditionally are just going to eat the whole thing, and it doesn't matter what you put in the food. It's never good to overeat. It's always good to eat in moderation. So we have a packaging size of 1.5 ounces to make sure that our customer is at least conscious about how much food they're putting in their body. And, you know, if they don't want to overeat, it's much easier not to overeat when you have to keep opening new bags versus having one giant bag that you just mindlessly eat and finish. So putting that to the side, I completely forgot what I was talking about, but I'll remember it in 1 second. Oh, we were talking about the food and how we make it into nacho cheese. So if it's delicious and you keep wanting to eat it, even though we're going to encourage you not to overeat, that's what matters, right? It's radically healthy for you. People are going to buy our product because it's radically healthy. That's like what is our competitive advantage. That's what makes us different. And then on the other hand, we're also radically delicious. Like our product, you'll love. Like you'll try it and you'll be blown away by the taste. And maybe it doesn't taste exactly like nacho cheese. We have 3 other flavors besides nacho cheese, and they're all flavors that are much easier to create. Vegan, you know, spicy sweet chili, there's no cheese in it. You know, salt, there's no cheese in it. Chili lime, there's no cheese in it. They're all naturally cheeseless, and it's very easy to make vegan. Nacho cheese is more difficult. And, you know, we use nutritional yeast like every other cheese product out there, or every other vegan cheese product out there. And then we have other ingredients that are naturally grown sometimes in, that was the wrong way to put it. They're not like from the US originally. So for us being an American company, that's important. But So we're using ingredients that are very uncommon, which could better, and I'm speaking like this because this is something new, right? We got our product to a point where like, this is awesome, let's launch. And then, someone suggested there's this other spice that's not common in the US that, should be able to recreate the cheese flavor even better than nutritional yeast. And so we're adding that to the product. And that's the one that I'm not saying because that's kind of like, our trade secret for the time being. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, there are 300,000 ingredients in the world that are edible by humans. And the traditional human eats about 30. And I don't have a statistic about how many food companies use, but I could tell you that they don't use 300,000. And so there's just always more ingredients to explore that have, different health benefits and different flavors. For me, a lot of my inspiration is I like to try a lot of foods, and I'll try a food and I'll be like, that reminds me of this snack I used to love as a kid. And then we'll try to make that snack out of that food. And, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
I love that. And I love the answers. I'm looking forward to my sample packs when you send them over to me. I can try these out, and I'm looking forward to it. But tell us a little bit more. So obviously I want to be mindful of the time here as well, but tell us a little bit more. So you're doing also a conscious leadership program within your food company, which kind of sounds weird, but like, just tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, we're going there. Yes. But I have so much more to talk about conscious leadership and why people should bring it in and how they bring it in and, what it does for the business.
I mean, we might even have to do another episode, I think, to get the full in-depth, because I needed to go down the food route because it was just so interesting to me, like, to ask the questions about it and how you're doing it. So I think you've done some great examples of how you are like using conscious leadership. But I love, obviously, like, we would love to delve into it, but I know our guys were like, we got to keep pretty much a tight 30 on that for the guys, otherwise they all drop off. Even though it's an interesting topic, but man, I loved having you back. We can delve more into conscious leadership as well.
So I think at the end of the day, Koohlah is going to win because of how much we do for the customer. And, I think that there's a shift happening in the world, and we're not at the beginning. It's already happened. But I think that in the future, conscious companies are going to be the only ones that survive. I mean, we're getting to a point where everything is so transparent. Like, even people that are doing good in the coronavirus crisis are getting called out because they're not 100% going for the customer. And I'm talking about, like, people who are buying masks and then increasing the premium and making a ton of money selling masks. It's like they believe that they're doing good by increasing the mask supply, which they are doing good, but then they're also gouging people on masks, and then they're ending up getting a lot of bad press. And I think that's going to be just going to become more and more and more prevalent. All of these companies that don't have the customer 100% in the best interest will be getting called out, and companies that do will get free press and free media. And what's really beautiful is, and this might be for the next episode, is we haven't even launched yet, and people are reaching out like, where can I get the product? When can I get the product? And these are people I don't know. It's like friends of friends of friends are hearing about a company that just cares so much about their health that they want in. And the same thing with service providers and partners and employees. People reach out to me and they're like, I want to be a part of this, or I'm working with a service partner and I'm probably going over time, and I apologize for that. This is the last story, and then I'll go into the Conscious Leader program at Koohlah. Is one of the guys who was part of the developing of the food. He's a service provider. He's a contractor. We pay him some money for, a period of time, and then that's it. And we're having a conversation about, equipment with, equipment rental, because we're setting up our manufacturing. And he keeps saying we and us and our, as if it's his brand. And it's like, he knows he's not technically part of us. He's just a service provider, but he wants so bad to be part of us that he's we, us, and he's taking on extra projects that we're not paying him for because he's just so happy. He literally called this product his baby, and he has 0% ownership. Like, that is just like amazing. And I'm just blessed and grateful that he's in, and he's probably going to come under the Koohlah umbrella. We're probably going to hire him, but just the fact that he takes so much ownership of our company's product to call it his baby is how you get people to do their best work. So that's what it's like to be a conscious leader. And we're setting up a conscious leadership program at Koohlah. As I said before, people really want this product. Friends of friends of friends are begging me for this product. And, we're setting up a program where we're going to teach you how to be a conscious leader. And then we're also going to pay you to share Koohlah with your friends. And so we're not going to, turn you into some like salesman, saleswoman, sales figure. You're going to be a conscious leader. You're only going to bring Koohlah to people who can make a real difference in their life. Our mission statement is to help people take control of their health and live a more vibrant life. And that's what we want to do. We're only out to help people. And we'll teach you to lead from that point so you can sell effectively. And conscious leadership program, it's not just for Koohlah. It's for really inspiring conscious leaders in other realms of life. It's a side hustle. It's a way to make extra income in a time where, people might be struggling for money. And it's a way to learn a new skill in which you could bring into your business or your career or your relationships or your life and just evolve as a human being while making extra money.
I love that. That's epic. And how can people find out about that? Like, where's the best place to check it out?
The best place to check that out is Koohlah.com, and there'll be an ambassador program link, which is our conscious leadership program. Maybe we'll just call it the conscious leadership program. So it's not up while we're filming the podcast. It'll be up when you're listening to this podcast. So go to Koohlah.com, KOOHLAH.com. I'm sure, Kim, you'll put it in the description, and there'll be a button to apply. And, I know application is this sales strategy, but we really mean it. Like, we don't want anyone who's just going to bug their friends, their family, other people about buying our product. We're not interested in all. We want people who fit in our culture, who really care about others and want to make a difference in their lives and get paid to make that difference in other lives. So there is an application progress. We're not going to do like this intense, 100 questions. It's just going to make sure that, and don't just cheat and say what I'm saying right now, but we're just going to make sure that you care and you want to do good and you want to bring consciousness into your life, into your career, and make a difference for your friends. And then, we'll train you and we'll pay you, and life will be really good for you.
Yeah. No, I love that. And guys, we're gonna classify this and we'll timestamp this as part 1. We will do a part 2. I'm not gonna ask my patented last final question until we go through that one, so that we can make sure we do dive into the full conscious leadership. So we'll do this as a 2-parter because we want to make sure that we respect your guys' time and your time as well, Harrison. And we'll do a 2-part episode on this one. So this is part 1, guys. So if you want to find out the answer to my favorite question of all time at the end of the episode, you're gonna have to listen to the next one, unfortunately. In the meantime, go and check out the Koohlah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, they've just got to wait. We've got to get them to hang on.
They get 2 great episodes for the price of 1. You have an extremely lucky audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fortunately, you guys get 2 for the price of 1. It's a bargain. This is a Koohlah special, guys. But guys, until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. We will have a part 2, so make sure that you tune in and make sure that you share this with someone that needs to be a conscious leader, because you need to get this one first to get the context. Then you're going to get all of the extra juice in the next episode. So we'll see you guys on the next one.